Before we start today's show, how many of the 13 Cowboys games have you been able to watch so far this year? All is a perfectly acceptable answer, but I want to see just how many of you have been able to get to every Cowboys game this year. Sound off in the comments section. A lot of Dak Prescott talk on today's show, understandably so. We'll get to the Cam Newton conversation, which managed to upset 4 significant fan bases across the NFL. Jerry Jones again said the team plans on extending Dak Prescott in the offseason. There were reports this week and last week the Cowboys were motivated to get a deal done, to which I say, duh. That's been the narrative coming out of Dallas for months now. And also, what are you going to do? Not pay the quarterback who's on an MVP caliber? He's like, come on, let's be realistic here. Next year would be the final year of Dak Prescott's contract. There's a $59+ million cap hit, which nobody involved wants to actually pay. An extension would actually significantly bring that number down. Here's what Jerry Jones said at owner meetings on Tuesday. Quote, I've never thought that we wouldn't be making a contract. I think that's the best way for me to say it. Yes, a double negative, classic Jerry. The idea of doing it or not doing it has not been on the table from my perspective, period, at any time here. He also said this on 105.3 The Fan. The only thing that is factual here is what I decide and what we decide as a team and what Dak decides. We know exactly where we are in the contract, the years of the contract, and we should be and are about as close on that type of communication. The timing on it remains to be seen. Here's the thing. This is sensitive in that it does involve moving around assets, which I think Jerry means restructuring here. It's not Dak causing it. That's just what happens. It's sensitive, so the fact we're anticipating having a new contract takes all of that into account. There's going to be restructuring. You can't have it all. It's going to be some adjustments to get it done. Frankly, the extension itself actually would be a restructure of the Dak current deal and actually saves you a significant amount of salary cap space. But none of this is new nor a surprise. I feel like we're going to get we didn't have very many of them, but we started to veer back into the Sunday morning breaking news of old Cowboys want to get dealing with Dak. Said this for months. We've known that for a long time now. And, of course, it helps that Dak is playing some of his best football ever. The Cowboys are on a tear. Since the bye, there really hasn't been a better quarterback in football this year. He's been that incredibly impressive. But I also know it's Dak, it's contracts, and there will be some who focus on one game as opposed to maybe just 19 of them. So do you want to extend Dak Prescott? It's the pinned comment on today's video. Y for yes, N for no. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Now, I know there's going to be some, let's see what happens in the playoffs. I think that's actually a bad mindset to have. I've said this for a while now. You should know what you're doing with Dak. Dak has been in the NFL for a very long time. The whole narrative around the interceptions this year was really dumb, frankly, because you can look at his entire career, and there's been one other year before last season where he was even remotely close to being above average in terms of interception rate. He's always been well below. So we got all locked into the outlier year for really no reason when we can all go back and watch those picks and go, that one's not on Dak, that one's off the receiver's chest, that one's not on Dak. It was just all very strange and weird to me. I think we should know the answer on Dak. Look, it's going to be expensive. But what are you going to do? Are you not going to pay your MVP candidate quarterback? Like, there are 31 other teams be like, yeah, we're going to pay him. Like, of course we're going to do it. Like, what are you going to do? Even if you lose the postseason again, which would probably be to the 49ers, as painful as that is, not going to pay that guy? You're not going to pay that's the guy that's driven your offense this year by a pretty significant margin? All the games, how you should be judging a player. If you, obviously, the final game is the one that really, really matters, but it's process over results, which we will talk about a little bit here more in depth with some of Cam Newton's, I'll go with controversial comments. But first, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big sporting event, which for the Cowboys, outside of getting a home playoff game, it's the Lions Jimmy Johnson Ring of Honor induction game. That's kind of all we've got left here for Dallas. I am a big fan of their zone deals. You don't always have them for Cowboys games, but you get them for a bunch of other events too. You pick the section. Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. not like it's necessarily a movie theater where you want to be in the middle. You can be wherever you want to sit. I think that makes it a great feature for game time. They're also giving you $20 off your first purchase. Use promo code CowboysChat for $20 off when you create your account and download the Game Time app at gametime.co. That's COWBOYSCHAT for $20 off. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. We got Hayton Spurrier, we got Hayton Cam Newton today. Well, not Hayton's birthday, but you guys know what I mean by that. Cam Newton has drawn the ire of multiple fan bases with his rather aggressive public comments about multiple QBs. Here's what Cam said. If we were to put that in its own right as game managers, quote unquote, Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, and really Dak Prescott, these are game managers. They are not difference makers. I don't give a damn what you do. You don't have to score every time. You just don't have to throw a pick every time either. If we're going to call a spade, a game manager is different than a game changer. Now, Cam is right that there are differences between game changers and game managers. As we'll get into, he picked some pretty bad examples of game changers versus game managers. I've got thoughts here. What do you think? Is Cam Newton right about Dak and even the others in this grouping? R for he's right, W for he's wrong. Sound off in the comments section. Not saying Cam doesn't get to have an opinion. That's fine. I saw that as a narrative like, well, Cam's a quarterback. He gets to have an opinion. Well, yes, of course. Doesn't mean it's right. And it's not right here. I think at minimum Cam's wrong on 3 of those 4 quarterbacks and probably wrong on all 4 of them. Those guys have all made plays. The film is littered with those plays for all those guys. Yes, there are times that Purdy benefits from screens and yak and stuff, but there are also plays he's made downfield plenty of times. The Dak film this year is littered with plays. This is a tired narrative of, Dak doesn't throw guys open, blah, blah, blah. Littered with it this year. There's tons of it. I mean, the Cowboys offense is built around Dak making consistent plays through the air. I think what Cam has kind of done here, intentional or not, is his version of game-changing plays. Game-changing for Cam meant making things happen with his legs. That's not really Dak's. He's always made plays with his legs this year. It's not really Purdy's game. It's not Goff's game. It's not Tua's game. But all of those guys, especially Dak, have made a bunch of plays from within the pocket this year. How many times have we seen Dak throw just seam shots downfield for huge chunk plays? Those are game-changing plays. Yes, your receiver has to make the catch, but the only guys Cam mentioned as game changers were Lamar and Mahomes. Okay, sure, those are very more dynamic players than a Prescott is. That's fine, and I think Lamar should be more in the MVP conversation. But by the way, but I think we've conflated the whole running stuff with making plays there. I think also part of this is Cam still thinks he's a starting caliber quarterback. And I think there is some, I don't know if jealousy is the right word for it, but maybe disappointment. And I get it, it's tough. You were so good for so long, and you still think you have it. You're watching other quarterbacks make plays. You think you're better than them, but you're really not at this stage. It's frustrating. Got some more thoughts here to come on some injury news here. But help us get to 177K subscribers. Hit that sub button right now. We are 13 subs away. That is it. Do it right now. Couple quick injury news and notes here. Matt Waletzko, as when I was out of town last week, was designated to return from his shoulder injury. So got this week and then next week to make his way back. Timing, I think they will bring him back. Not sure what they'll do from a roster numbers perspective. There might be a new injury for an Awesome Richards who's been a scratch as of late, which is also what they did with Viliami, a.k.a. Junior Fehoko, who had gone on IR to make room for a return player. He's got a knee injury, but I will make note, you have 3 weeks of practice, basically, then you don't get to return. That would time up decently with, hey, you know what? We didn't need you. You're not ready to come back. You're not going to play, but we'll give you the practice time and then keep you on IR for this. Remember, because the window's activated doesn't mean they have to come back. And I don't know really what the benefit would be, barring injuries, of bringing back Fehoko. He's in a redshirt year. Not going to play for Micah, not going to play for Tanny, not going to play for Dorrance Armstrong, Sam Williams, Dante Fowler. Tyrus Wheat plays more on special teams than Fehoko does. So the math is not mathing for me on that front. More minor is that Billy Price is on his way back from the practice squad injury list. He got hurt in a practice, I believe. Shoulder injury there for Price. That one is a little bit different from these two because it's practice squad versus active roster, but is worth mentioning. We'll go more in depth on this on tomorrow's live show, but it did just come across the wire as we sit here filming this. Malik Hooker, who didn't seem to be bothered at all by an injury against the Eagles, did not participate in a walkthrough today with an ankle injury. Should have more information on Thursday, so make sure you are subscribed.